We're going to take a break from the founding fathers really quickly and look at a specific topic in psychology, and that has to do with autism. And I'm doing that because it's like real life application of John Watson in behaviorism. And it's kind of an interesting topic. So it just kind of gives a little teaser to what we do in abnormal psychology. And we studied all kinds of different psychological conditions. So you can do notes two ways here. One, you can just grab some flashcards. I kind of have a picture of flashcards cut off by my head. And then, or you can do what's called Cornell notes. So grab a sheet of paper, and on the left-hand side, you write questions. And on the right side, you do your bullet points. And then when you have a new question, write that new question, and then go ahead and take the notes on the right. And then you'll just take a picture of that and a picture of the cards and upload that as proof that you did the notes. Okay, so that's kind of how this will work. All right, we're gonna do some notes now. So get ready. We'll probably break this into 2 to 3 parts, and we'll go from there. All right, cool. So what is autism? Let's first define it. Well, one, you should know that it's called the autism spectrum disorder. Autism spectrum disorder. A spectrum is like a range of conditions from like less severe to or mild condition and then to severe. So that's what a spectrum is. There's some things that are in common, but like at the same time, like someone could have those very mildly and you almost don't even know they have autism, to someone who's very severe and needs someone to care for them 24/7. That's what it means by autism spectrum disorder. So we define that this way. You have high functioning, meaning that they're pretty independent. They get to function, they can function in society by themselves fairly easily, to low functioning. And low functioning would mean they need a lot of help to the point where they have a caregiver 24/7. Right now, quick facts is 1 in 54 students are diagnosed with autism. This chart's a little old. It says 1 in 68. And boys are 4 times, it says 5, but it's actually 4 times more common in boys. Autism is 4 times more common in boys than girls. So that kind of gives you an idea. So 1 in 54 children are diagnosed with autism. 1 in 54. It used to be 1 in 68, and maybe you'll run past something, and I still have 1 in 68 in a quiz or something. I apologize, but 1 in 54 is actually correct. Again, spectrum meaning high functioning. So there's level 1. They need some support. It's mostly about communication and social skills or problems, maybe some repetitive behaviors, but that's it. And level 2, they need substantial support. They have repetitive behaviors. We'll talk more about that in a second, which is obvious to a casual observer. And then level 3, they need substantial support, and the patient's social and communication skills and repetitive behaviors severely impair daily life. And like I said, this is a person who probably can't really be left alone. They will need someone with them all the time. Autism spectrum disorder is also associated with several other conditions that you could have on top of it. Like it's common for someone on the autism spectrum to also have anxiety issues, ADHD, ADD, I should say, attention deficit disorder, depression, sensory integration disorder, where their senses like light bothers them or sound bothers them, or they're really sensitive. They really like loud sound or they really hate loud sounds. I mean, that sort of things. They could also be extremely gifted. They could have obsessive compulsive disorder. The point is that there's some other conditions that are related or go hand in hand sometimes with autism. So it's a broad range of conditions. And they have several challenges. I'm going to give you a list of some things that they have challenges in. One is social skills. They just like don't naturally talk to people normally, or in a typical way that other people would relate with others. Like maybe you have a child who doesn't say anything. They don't respond at all. So that's kind of different. And then they also may actually talk too much. Like, you're trying to talk to this person, and all they want to talk about is their obsession with trains. And so these social skills are difficult because of that. They have repetitive behaviors, and you can see some of the repetitive behaviors below, like staring at a fan that's moving, or flicking fingers against a wall. Like they're flicking a finger, spinning a tire. They turn a truck upside down and spin the tire truck. All of those things are repetitive behaviors. Rocking back and forth, flapping hands. Those could be repetitive behaviors. Sorry about that. Okay, and then also speech. There are some adults and children with autism who don't have no verbal speaking ability, and they might speak to you using some sort of device. And nonverbal communication is hard for them to understand, like giving them a certain look or a upset face, like they don't necessarily understand it. And so that can be a problem too. Like there's all kinds of nonverbal cues that even a teacher might give you in class, but a student with autism might not get it. All right, so those are some challenges. If you need to pause, go ahead. Another thing that's very common among children with autism is major behavioral issues when younger, like big fits. A lot of this we believe is tied to the fact that they have difficulty communicating and understanding language. So therefore, they can't get their needs met. And then when their needs are not met, they have a kind of a meltdown, if you will. And so, sometimes you might see someone having a meltdown and it's actually a child with autism, and you think that it's just bad parenting. And in reality, it's a child with autism. And sometimes the parent doesn't even know exactly why they're screaming. All right, the number two. So on the left-hand side of your card, to grab a different card, or on the left-hand side of your slot notes or Cornell notes, sorry, write conditions associated with autism. So get a little more detail there about conditions associated with autism. Second card. All right, pause if you need to, backside of the card or the right hand side of the Cornell note. 40% of people with autism have an intellectual disability. 40% of people with autism, children and people with autism, have intellectual disability. It used to be called retardation. And if you ever have seen an IQ test or you've heard of IQ or what's your IQ, 100 is average. Okay, 100 is average. That's how they scale it. 130, so 30 points above average, is considered genius. And then 30 points below a 70 is where is the cutoff for an intellectual disability. So they would have less than a 70 IQ. So that's quite a bit lower than the average at 100 and significantly lower than the above average IQs or genius IQ at 130. So 40%. So this is going to cause major functioning issues because they not only have autism, but they also have an intellectual disability on top of it. 30% have seizures. We don't know why that is, but they have seizures are a problem. Sometimes the seizures can be very severe. I know of a case of a young lady who actually died of a seizure. She had autism, and at 13, she passed away in the middle of the night from the seizure. 80% have sleep disturbances. The belief is that melatonin in children with autism doesn't come at the right time. Most of us, the melatonin is what makes us go to sleep, and we start feeling sleepy at night. And sometimes with children, they might get a lot of melatonin in the middle of the day, and then not have it at night. And so it's very common, if you know any parents with autism, and that they have major issues at nighttime with a child sleeping. They might have sensory issues. And sensory just means like your five senses. Light bothers them a lot. Really bright light bothers them, or loud sounds, or touching them. It really, maybe they have a meltdown because you touch them or brushed into them. These are all very common things with children with autism. Also, they might have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. You can actually see in the picture here, the child has organized all the crayons according to shade or color and shade. And that is OCD. Like they have to organize it. There was another picture earlier about a child lining up cars in a straight line. That's OCD. That's kind of a sign of autism as well. So they have to have things done a certain way. Like there's a ritual that has to be done before whatever the task is that's going to be done, or they have to line something up. They has to be organized. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is also common. So hyperactivity is also something that's fairly common among children with autism. All right, that's the last card. We'll stop there. We'll go to symptoms on the next card on the next lesson. All right, great. Thanks, guys.